So how do we feel about talking to a computer? Do we trust it? My team is researching speech interfaces where people talk to a computer. Better now. Yes. But so speech is important, a teacher topic, because speech is the primary communication mode of humans. Everything important we have in life is spoken. So it's no coincidence that this speech is spoken, because it's important. Your job interview will be spoken. The first time you say, I love you, will be spoken. Except for me, I was a shy teenager. I wrote in the slip of paper. But at least, will you marry me, will be spoken. So it's always the natural way to communicate for us. It's also natural to communicate with computers with speech. But it's also unnatural to speak to computers, because we have a millennia-long cultural experience of talking to humans, but we have only a decade or so experience of talking to computers. We don't know yet how to do that. We haven't learned that yet. So I'm actually interested in how does it feel to talk to a computer. But it's also a normative or prescriptive question. How should we feel about talking to a computer? But we are engineers, so we design speech interfaces. So we want to make them as useful as possible for humans. But also, they should feel right. Yes. Yes. So the original aim of speech interfaces, they will be marketed as assistants. Computer lights off, and then the computer would obey. They were a slave to our will. But people have a strong urge. They have a tendency to anthropomorphize, so treat computers as if they were human. Having human slaves does not feel comfortable. It's not typical for us. So instead, we treat them as friends or colleagues. But recently, I've also learned that there's a third way how you can treat a speech assistant. You can treat it as an extension of self. So in the same way as you talk silently in your head, you can talk to a computer about what has happened and what could happen. And the computer will reflect to you. It kind of takes the role of a therapist. I think that can be very useful. It should not replace your therapist, but it can be an additional friend or actually additional therapist. And I think that's a good thing if it helps you. But of course, there's also consequences. It can be dangerous, because computers are not humans. If you treat them like humans, there's a mismatch, and the expectations might be broken, and that's where the danger lies. Because computers are different; they have different behavior than humans. They have different capabilities than humans have. For example, we can already detect Parkinson's disease from your voice. And that brings up interesting questions. What happens if your mortgage or your insurance is cancelled because the computer detects Parkinson's in your voice, even before your doctor knows about it? That's scary. But even worse, what if your insurance or mortgage is cancelled because the computer incorrectly detects Parkinson in your voice? Think about that. So we need protections and boundaries, because computers do what they're programmed to do. So we need protections against those who control computers. We do have, all of us, or practically all of us, have a phone in our pocket, and we have a computer at home or in the office. But we have them, we own them, but we don't control them. It is the programmers, service providers, and advertisers who control the computers. So my team is working on to protect against privacy violations, abuse, misrepresentation, and discrimination. And our primary way of protecting us, or the users, is to remove private information from the speech signal. So, for example, when you call your bank or your insurance company, we hope to remove health information, such that the bank would not have access to health information. So the Parkinson would never be revealed to the wrong persons. Of course, we have also laws. There are the boundaries. The laws say that the banks are not allowed to access some information, and other service providers are not allowed to do such things. But I think we need also these engineering protections which protect the user. And I talk about protections and boundaries in a way which is a bit different when what many other people talk about AI. They say that humans should always have full control of AI. But for me, that sounds a bit like micromanagement. It's too much control. As a comparison, think about a calculator. Its purpose is to do calculations, subtractions and additions and multiplications. We all know how to do that, but it's boring to do those complicated calculations. So instead, we have a calculator which does that. And that's useful. But if you would like to have a full control of the calculator, that would mean that we would actually have to go inside and look at those calculations, actually doing the calculations which the calculator was supposed to do for us. In the same way, AI, if we have full control of AI, that means that we are actually requiring to do the job that the AI was supposed to do for us. Doesn't really make sense. So instead, I advocate protections and boundaries, and then trust within those boundaries. And trust is the second thing I want to bring up here as a topic my team is working on. I think that we can and should make computers trustworthy. That's obvious. But when a computer is trustworthy, the interesting question is, do we trust it then? Should we trust a computer? Categorical mistrust or blind trust are they both lead to absurdity. You can't do that. So actually the question is wrong. It's not a categorical yes-no question. We should ask ourselves, how much do we trust the computers, the speech interfaces? And when you go from this categorical to an analytical question, you go from faith to logical analysis, so informed questions or informed answers. And then you notice that you need information about the system. You need more information. So the system actually has to tell you somehow how trustworthy is this system. But how do we tell? How can we be transparent about the performance? If a computer just says, I am 99% accurate, doesn't really help anyone. I wouldn't know how to digest such information. But instead, let's suppose I want to buy a flight to New York. And then the computer can answer, done. Feels awkward. Did it now do the right thing? So I have some uncertainty. So in this communication needs a bit of more feedback. So it could say that booking flights to New York. Okay, great. The computer was very certain, so it did something. And then I can still say, no, don't do that if it was wrong. If there's more uncertainty, so the computer is a bit unsure what I said, it could say that, did you say New York? That signals to me that it was unsure of what I said. And I can hear that it was unsure, but also that it got it right, actually. If there's more uncertainty, then we can say, for example, I didn't catch that. Can you repeat it? So that not only fulfills the target of buying a ticket to New York, but at the same time communicates to me the uncertainty that the computer has about its task. So next time, when I try to buy tickets somewhere, let's say Paris, I wouldn't say buy tickets to Paris, but I would say, buy me tickets to Paris, because I know how much I can trust the interface. Now, this example reflects only users' trust towards the speech interface or computer. But there are other important questions as well. So in our collaboration with Espoo City, we are working to get digital services to migrants. So when migrants arrive to Finland, Espoo City wants to integrate them well into our life here by providing healthcare and find them jobs and that sort of services. That's important, and it's important the migrants trust the speech interface. So the speech interface or digital service is an additional tool in this palette of services Espoo provides. But the migrants trusting this service is only one thing. There's also other things. Currently, the bottleneck seems to be that Espoo City does not know whether it can trust speech interfaces. How would they know how trustworthy a speech interface is? What is the accuracy level? What are the right measures to measure trust? And we are then trying to create ways for Espoo to evaluate, build a template. So what questions should they ask? What information do they need? Because they have a legal requirement to provide factual information. How can they be sure that they are following the laws? The third thing I want to mention here is adapting to a person. I already mentioned that there are legal frameworks such as the AI Act, which set boundaries about what we are allowed to do with information. For example, emotions and health information, that's more sensitive information, and there are higher boundaries, higher protections that we are required to have for such sensitive information. So these boundaries are good and important to protect the user, but it makes that they're bad because they make engineers' life difficult. We would need that for good customer service. Comparison, if you think about a barbershop, when you come to a barber or hairdresser, the first thing the barber will do is to sense your personality. They feel what you feel, what is your mood, and are you healthy? And if you're excited, they will join your excitement. If you are ill or depressed, they will really gently approach you. So they adapt to the person. They treat you differently depending on how you are. That's good customer service. As a speech interface, we want to do the same. But we cannot analyze health. We cannot label someone that you are depressed or you are low educated. We are not allowed to do that. And that's good. We don't want to do that. But instead, we want to do something like I call respectful adaptation, where we try to mirror the behavior of a user. So if they are talking with an excited voice, they talk fast and with great energy. We can reflect that. We can mirror that and have a similar behavior. Or if it's a language learner, they talk with a simple language, and then we can also use a simple language, and they understand that speech interface better. So that is then better customer service without judgment. Coming to an end here, I think we need computers. We are not perfect. We need all the help we can get. But then we should still think about the question, how do we feel, or how should we feel about talking to a computer? Well, we are the engineers, we are the designers, and users, we can choose how they are designed, how they protect us, and how they help us, and how they communicate. I believe that we can make computers, and we should make them trustworthy. That's what we always done. That's obvious. But what is new here is that it should also design them such that they feel good, that they feel natural to use, just right. But what's important to understand is that computers will always also do sometimes errors. They are not perfect. We need to take that into account early on. So we should design them to evoke trust at an appropriate level, not too much trust and not too little trust. And that is good design. And that's good engineering. That's what you want. Thank you.